My name is Jane Ramseyer Miller, and I serve as Artistic Director for GALA Choruses. And I also work as Artistic Director for One Voice Mixed Chorus, which is a chorus in Minnesota, celebrating 25 years. I was born in Ohio and grew up in Indiana. Both settings were Mennonite communities, so I was born into a Mennonite community. I don't know if you know anything about Mennonites, but it's a very strong musical community. And the reason is actually because traditionally for Mennonites, instruments were seen as worldly and they were banned. So like the Quakers, the worship space was completely bare and people sang a cappella music. So I grew up singing four-part a cappella music, and that love of harmony is still a really very central part of who I am. I would say also that growing up experience has also shaped who I am as a person and the kind of work that I do. So the Mennonite community also has a very strong peace and justice stance, even though they have a long way to come in terms of their welcome of gay, lesbian, and bi, trans people. That passion for peace and justice is very much a part of what I have brought to my work as an adult. So I came out in my young 20s, and I was actually working for the Mennonite Church at the time. And it was not a very happy experience. There was a lot of pain involved and a lot of rejection for me in terms of my vocation, my work. And I sort of had to find a new path for myself. And, you know, this is a story that is actually really common for artistic directors in GALA choruses. There are many of us who have learned some really wonderful skills in church and synagogue settings in terms of how to plan a program and in terms of honing our musical and artistic skills, and then been sort of tossed out of those religious communities. And guess who's reaped the benefits? GALA choruses. I mean, it's really, it's a really interesting and beautiful thing for both parties that for those of us who have been rejected from these religious communities to have a place for our gifts to shine, and also for GALA choruses to have these gifted people who are now leaders in this different kind of community. So I first got connected with GALA choruses as an artistic director, and that was about 20 years ago, actually. So I've been attending GALA events ever since, and after a while I was asked to serve on the GALA board, and I kept saying no. And at one point, Robin Godfrey became executive director, and I heard her speak at a GALA conference. And she stood up there and was so articulate and eloquent and just had a sense of confidence. I felt like this woman is going to take this organization to a great place. And after that conference, I called the board chair and I said, okay, I'm ready to join the GALA board. So about 5 years ago, GALA created this position called Artistic Director in Residence, and Tim Seelig was the first director that was chosen to be in that role. And the role was really created to serve as a resource to our choruses, as an artistic resource. And as I understand it, the vision was for each person, it was a rotating position, each person in that position to kind of bring their own skills to whatever the position would look like. When I was hired, it was 2 years before a GALA festival, and I was particularly hired to do a lot of the work in recreating and replanning what a new festival could look like. And actually one of my favorite moments in that role was Robin said, you can find I think we had 8 or 10 of your most creative people, and fly them to Denver, and we're going to tear apart the festival experience and build it up again. And I remember throughout that experience of brainstorming saying, really, we could get rid of this? We could get rid of this? And Robin was very open about really wanting to see this rebuilt from the ground up. So since that time, GALA has expanded the Artistic Director in Residence program. And what they realized is they really needed more than artistic help for our choruses. So what has been created is the GALA 411 advisors. And there are now 4 advisors, one that does artistic component, and one working with board members, one working with managers, and the other with youth choruses. So it's a wonderful new program. And at that point, my role switched. So rather than moving out of the position completely, which is what I expected, I was asked if I would stay on as a ongoing staff person, which is great. So I'm doing some similar kinds of things to what I did in the past, but focused on event planning and really trying to make sure that the artistic experience within GALA Choruses is strong and relevant at all of our events. One of the things that I've really especially enjoyed in working with GALA Choruses is getting a chance to work with some of our smaller choruses, our newly emerging choruses. And I need to also be clear that our smaller choruses are most of our GALA choruses. So I think some of the really huge visible choruses sometimes get the spotlight, but 70% of our choruses are actually have budgets of 50,000 or less. And typically a GALA chorus has 20 to 30 members. And that's the majority of who we are. So One Voice Mixed Chorus began in the mid to late 80s. And it was really influenced out of the AIDS movement. So there was a time, at least in the Twin Cities, where the men and women's community were very, very separate, really not having a lot of connection or communication at all. But as men and women came together and started working with and caring for people with AIDS and HIV, it really brought this community together. And our founding member, Paul Petrella, decided that he wanted to create a chorus of men and women and a place where gay men and lesbians could gather and be community and family for each other. And that's where it began in 1988. And the chorus at that time, I think there were maybe 25 singers in that first chorus. And we have grown today, 25 years later, to 120 singers. And I've been with the group for 20 years, which is a little nuts, actually. In 2004, I think it was, One Voice created the first ever transgender vocal festival. And we had people fly in from the East Coast and California to come to this little festival. So the other thing that happened in the more recent history for One Voice was that we started having a number of straight people join us as singers. And it was sort of a surprise when this started happening. We had some parents of gay people that came in and joined us. It turned out we had some kids of gay parents that came in and joined us. We had some spouses of transgender folks that came in, and it really has become a mixed chorus in a very true sense. It's kind of like this motley crew of all kinds of very diverse people, but a strong family as well. You know, they describe Minnesota as the land of 10,000 choirs. It's really true. There are choirs everywhere, especially in the Twin Cities, but all over Minnesota. And as I attend conferences and work and connect with colleagues who are choral conductors in Minnesota, one of the things I feel so fortunate about is that we as GALA Choruses and One Voice have such a very clear mission for what we're doing in the community. And I think that's a real gift for us, that a lot of other community choruses sort of struggle to know why they're there, besides they like to sing. What's their purpose? And they struggle to get audiences. And we have really large audiences, and we have a very clear vibrancy and clarity about what our mission is and what we're doing in the community. And it's really exciting. I think for a lot of chorus members, their GALA chorus, their member chorus, is a place of safety and coming out. It's sometimes a vehicle that they use to come out to their families. So inviting family members to a choir concert can be a way to help family members see that they have a community, that they have family, that they have an audience who loves them and supports them, whether or not their family does at this point. And I've heard so many stories of how inviting families to a chorus concert has really shifted how that family views their own sibling coming out, for example. So in Minnesota last November, there was an amendment, a proposed constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage, and a huge effort across the state to tell our stories, essentially, as a way to fight this amendment. And Minnesota was the first state to actually vote down a gay marriage amendment. And it really happened because across the state, gay and lesbian people told stories about who we are to our neighbors and to our friends and to our family, and became real and human in some ways. And that's exactly what GALA choruses do. We tell our stories through song. And And it's amazing how through a choir experience, through hearing these songs, through hearing people talk from the stage, audience members sort of see gay, lesbian, bi, trans people as real and normal and healthy individuals. The good news in Minnesota was that between November and May, we had another vote, and now gay marriage is legal in Minnesota. So who knew? The power of stories, it's incredible.